Hey everyone, I'm gonna talk about intuition today because actually a client of mine asked me, or a former client of mine asked me about my experience with intuition, and I don't know exactly what she said. I think she said she was wondering whether intuition feels unnatural sometimes or difficult. So here's my take on that. Intuition is our true nature. Like, being intuitive is part of our nature. But the thing is that from a very young age on, we are being taught not to listen to our intuition. So what is intuition? I actually looked it up on Wikipedia because I wanted to know the Latin root of the word, and it didn't resonate with me so much. You can look it up for yourself, but I resonate more with the experience that I'm having and that I heard somewhere else actually before. So intuition is the cosmic intelligence, the divine divinity, whatever you want to call this, God, godly energy. Cosmic intelligence talking through us, communicating with us, through us, and the intuitive hints we get is basically this cosmic intelligence working through us, and we get these hints through, in my case, through pretty physical sensations or through like this feeling. You know, I have a clairsentient ability, or that's like my from my clair abilities. The clairsentient one is the most present, I would say. Like, apparently we all have access to all of them, but for example, I don't see energies, but I feel them very loudly actually. So I'm often feeling what my intuition or what intuition is telling me. Like, I would feel it as a pull or even a push towards a certain person, towards a certain direction. Like, yes, this is what I feel as intuition. And I can also feel it pretty clearly, for example, when I'm being physically intimate with my partner and I'm not super stuck in my head, you know, when we're really in flow, then it just flows, you know, and it just intuitively goes right, and he touches me in a way that's just perfect, and I touch him in ways that just touch him exactly right. And you know, this is intuition where we don't work so much with the intellect. We don't think about what is right. We just feel, we just know it. It's like this deeper place of knowing, and some people also call it the gut feeling. So I think it's a bit different for everybody, but this is what it is for me. And so as children, we are pretty naturally listening to this intuition. You know, we're pretty naturally listening to what our body tells us. We know when we're hungry, we know when we want to sleep. And this is where it already starts. So as children, we know when we're hungry and we want to sleep. But pretty soon in our lives, the environment we grow up in often tells us when we have to sleep, how long we have to sleep, when we have to eat, what we have to eat, that we should first eat the plate of salad before we get the sweets. Like, all this kind of stuff distorts our intuitive, like our inner guidance system. Now, of course, there's certain things that we need to learn when we incarnate in this body, in this third dimensional reality. So we do need the adults in our lives to show us around, you know, to give us like a certain frame of how things work. But what I've experienced and what I'm observing in our society is that children are not listened to. Children are being seen as these little creatures that need to be told and taught everything, pretty much. Like, I hardly meet parents who listen to their child. Like, there is more and more parents like this emerging who are seeing their children as teachers. I have met them as well, but I would say the majority of parents, and then also the generation before, like the generation after the Second World War and even during, it was very brutal even at times. Like children were thought to be these little creatures that need to be told everything, that even need to be toughened up. So we learn to not listen to our internal guidance system. We learn to suppress our emotions. This is another aspect. So as children, I say this often, we are emotionally very fluid. You know, children can cry in 1 second and laugh in the other because they don't attach meaning to their feelings. They just cry when they feel like it, they laugh when they feel like it, and they just flow with it. It's easy for them. And excuse me, I'm a bit sick today. But we also learn throughout our childhood that certain emotions are better than others. Some emotions are more welcomed by our environment than others. So we learn that anger is too much. We learn that we should not cry like too much. And we even learn that we shouldn't be like too outrageously happy, because if we're playing too loud, we're disturbing the people around us. And you know, it's kind of fair enough that the people around us feel disturbed, but I find very often that children actually loosen up the environment, especially when the adults are having really boring conversations about really irrelevant things that they deem relevant. But energetically, you can feel that the children are actually much more on top of the game, if you want to call it like that. So children are also being taught that their emotions aren't right. And we learn to put ourselves in these emotional boxes where we have a very limited emotional expression. And this also suppresses our internal guidance system, our intuition, because we're not listening to our body properly. So we learn in this society to listen more to the concepts that we learn, to the values and morals that we learn, and we view things more through that lens. So that disconnects us from our intuition. And when we then go on the self-help journey, on the personal development, the spiritual exploration and awakening journey, we get reconnected with this aspect of ourselves. We do like the emotional release practices, and we do meditation and yoga to get back into the body, to connect back into this deeper place within ourselves, and to connect back to divinity, to source, to the cosmic intelligence that's all around us. And what I experienced there is that, so in my case, my intuition came actually back on pretty strongly. I remember even pretty distinctively, almost like down to the day where it really came online. And it really frightened me, because it led me to talk to certain people, to go to certain places or situations that my conditioned self, my conditioned self, my programmed earthly self, my ego, if you want to call it like that, deemed like, or my ego didn't feel worthy, or like my conditioned self didn't feel worthy to talk to the people that I was seeing over there. I felt really shy. Like, so my intuition is this unbiased aspect of me that just feels drawn to certain people and situations. And then there comes in the conditioned self that's like, oh shit, we can't go there because that's dangerous, or because we're not cool enough, or because these people are way better than us, or what about X, Y, Z, what about this, da 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 da. So this is where I experienced difficulty in following intuition and in continuing to do the inner work to keep on dismantling the conditioned self, to keep on unraveling the conditioned self, so that the intuition just can become stronger and stronger again. And I think this is like part of the path for me. And I think it's a pretty interesting path and a pretty crucial path for following our soul's calling. And what I want to say here is that I experienced that with myself, that I was really, really harsh, and still am sometimes, when I when I'm too scared to follow my intuition. You know, sometimes I can really feel very clearly my intuition wants me to go there and my conditioned self wants me to stay here. So what I learned from that, and what I'm continuing to learn from that, is to be gentle with myself, to be really, really gentle, because this conditioned self is really nothing else than my inner child that learned certain things. And like the inner child has different aspects. Obviously, there is this really like unbound, happy, playful, easygoing, intuitive inner child. And then there's also like the hurt, the shadow, the painful inner child. And this inner child is also like the conditioned self. So if I'm beating myself up about not following my intuition, I'm beating up this inner hurt child that's already beaten up anyway. So it's so useful, so crucial, such a big part on this journey to practice compassion, this famous word, to practice tenderness with ourselves. And this in itself is really challenging, but what I found is whenever I can drop into tenderness and gentleness towards this part of myself that's scared, that's shy, that's feeling not worthy, when I can do that, the resistance loosens up, and actually the intuitive part automatically arises even more. So I think, yeah, self-acceptance of all that we are, you know, like the beauty, the shiny, the brilliant, the scared, the little, the crippled, like all the aspects, that's really powerful. Acceptance of all those. So yeah, this is what I wanted to say about intuition. I'm curious if it helped you. You can drop in the comments, you can send me a message. Yeah, so thank you and see you next time.